Hey guys, what's going on? Brandon here. Today I'm doing my review of Fantastic Four First Steps. Fantastic Four First Steps is the new film in the MCU, the new Fantastic Four film in the MCU. And this movie is vastly superior to the ones that came before, to the first, the Fantastic Four in 2005, I think it was, and then the Rise of the Silver Surfer in 2007, which were two films I saw as a kid, and I still have fond memories of them, mainly for nostalgic reasons. And it is, again, vastly, vastly, vastly superior to Fant Four Stick. I don't even, like, it, that was a layup as far as them being superior to them. But let's talk about the exact reasons why. So this movie takes place 4 years after the Fantastic Four have became the Fantastic Four, have gotten their powers. And they are like the saviors, the only real heroes of this like universe, of this specific universe, which is Earth 828, 828, I think is what it said at the beginning of the movie, or something like that. I believe it was 828. And in this film, we get the Silver Surfer and Galactus. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Galactus specifically. I really like what Julie Garner did as the Silver Surfer. I think she was great, and I think she was better than the one in the Rise of the Silver Surfer. Then we have to talk about the Fantastic Four. We have to talk about the reason why we're all coming to this movie, and that is for the team of the Fantastic Four. And in this movie, we get Pedro Pascal playing Mr. Fantastic, or Reed Richard. And I really like him in this role. I think he plays this role very well, and very much like how, he is in the comic books, as this guy who is the smartest man on the planet, and he just keeps on getting in his own way because he is always thinking logically and not, thinking emotionally sometimes. And, it is kind of a thing with, like, very smart people that they tend to only think logically and not really think emotionally very much. Sometimes they do. Obviously, they still have emotions and everything, but it's not... But they're also thinking logically at the same time with their emotions and what is the best course of action. And sometimes the logical reason and the logical thing and the emotional thing doesn't always match up, which is, obviously a questionable thing for how you want to play this. Then we get Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm. I think she is vastly superior to Jessica Alba, from the original, from the first set, and from the first Fantastic Four films, the first two. Ebon Moss-Bachrach, that's how his name looks like it's pronounced, but I don't know if that's right. Honestly, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I need to learn, because he is going to be in the next Avengers film. So I need to learn. So he's going to be in more things. He's more things that I'm going to be watching. So, I'm excited for him. I think he was very good in this movie. I do think that they didn't give him enough to do, and it's kind of the same complaint I have for Johnny Storm, but we'll get to him in a moment, because I think that they could have come up with something better for him. I'm not going to get into exactly what they do with this character, because this part of the video is a non-spoiler thing. I might get into some spoilers here in a minute, but that will be here in a minute. We'll see about that. I'm not going to get into any major spoilers in this video. Well, actually, I probably will. I probably will, actually. But, I think that they could have come up with a better story than what they gave him. And that's kind of my issue here, is the writing for specifically The Thing, Ben Grimm, and let's get to Johnny Storm, played by Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn embodies that character. I think he is incredible in that role. He's very charming. He's obviously, could very much be a ladies' man. And he is, I think he's just absolutely perfect for this role. I think he looks like the comic book character in a lot of ways. And in some ways, really more than Chris Evans did. And Chris Evans, I think, was really good in this role. But I think that, to me, Joseph Quinn is better. Now, they don't give him anything to do, really. I mean, he's more involved than he's more involved in the hero side of things and more in the intellectual side of things than Chris Evans' Johnny Storm was. And I love that. I love that about him as this character. Is that he is using his brain and he's thinking about more than just, who's the next hot chick I'm gonna, flirt with. Because that's really all Chris Evans' Johnny Storm was. He was just, he was kind of a misogynist, if we're gonna be real. I mean, he was constantly flirting with every even decently attractive girl in his vicinity, and that's all he was. And I think Johnny Storm is more than that. Is that part of his character? Sure. He's a ladies' man. He likes women, very much so. And this movie tells you that this Johnny Storm likes women. And I wish we'd gotten more of that. I wish we'd got more of the cocky bravado, and that's kind of my issue, because I know Joseph Quinn can play that. Joseph Quinn is such a talented actor. As this character, him playing Johnny Storm is way different than what he was in Stranger Things, playing Eddie Munson. A vastly different character. He has range, and I would have liked to see that range on display more than it was. So there is my issue. Therein lies my issue. They could have given him more to do, more range, shown more of his range, and shown what this character is in terms of, a cocky attitude and all of that. They're doing press conferences, and, Reed Richards, Pedro Pascal, is, heading up all these press conferences. I'm not saying that Joseph Quinn should have been heading up them, but he's not saying anything during these press conferences. He's just there. And I feel like, they could have just had him, say something here and there, during some of these during one or two of these press conferences or interviews or whatever. And it would have just made this seem like more of I think this movie could have been a little longer. And so, I have some issues. This is not a perfect film. Usually I'm the guy who's like, this movie should have been shorter. This movie should, whatever. But in this case, this movie could have been longer, and I would have been okay with it, because this was a really fun and good movie. I just have a few issues here and there. And at the end of the day, that's okay. I can have some issues and it still not be a detriment, a complete detriment to the film itself. So there we go. Overall, I'm going to give this movie like a 7.5 out of 10. It's a very good film. I have some issues, but there you go. Maybe even if after I see it again, I might bump it up to an 8, or who knows, maybe even higher. But for now, I'm going to stick it at 7.5. I don't think that's going to go any lower. I think it can only go up with more viewings. I think it can only go up or stay the same. I think those are the only options if I give it more viewings. And I think I will. I might see it again in theaters. Who knows? Maybe this weekend. I'll see it again in theaters. But that's all I have to say in a non-spoiler fashion. I do want to get to the post-credit scene. There is, before I do get into spoilers, there is 2 post-credit scenes. You don't need to stay at all for the second one. If you need to go to the restroom or whatever, if you need to get out of there, just go. It's not necessary. You can see it online in probably a week anyway. Who cares? It's not a necessary post-credit scene. The last one. The mid-credit scene, though. The mid-credit scene, stay. This is a big, big thing. And I'm going to get into it in a spoiler fashion in 3, 2, 1. If you are still here, then you are okay with spoilers. So I'm just going to say it. Dr. Doom shows up. Now, you don't see Robert Downey Jr.'s face, but it's Dr. Doom. He has the mask, he has the cloak on, just because you don't see him, it's probably not Robert Downey Jr. actually in the costume. They probably didn't want to pay him just to a bunch of money just to show up for a post-credit scene. But in this post-credit scene, essentially you get, this is, I think it said 3 years later, 4 years later, something like that. I think it's 4 because, because, or maybe 5, I don't know, something like that, because the Franklin, looks to be about 4 or 5 now. And Sue is reading, a book to him. Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm is reading a book to him, and she walks away for a second to go grab another book or whatever. And she comes back. She hears something. She hears some commotion, and she comes back, and she sees Dr. Doom with her child, showing with the mask off. The mask is in his hand, and he's showing the kid his face, which, interesting. I guess we'll see. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on Avengers Doomsday or I'm going to see it. I'm going to see them both. Obviously, I'm going to see both Doomsday and Zero Wars, but I'm not 100% sold on if I'm going to like them or not. We'll just see on that. I don't know. And I think I said in my review, I didn't really care for Galactus. I don't think that you can make me care about Galactus. I think Galactus looks, in the movie context, obviously. I'm not talking about the comics here. But in the movie context, I don't know if you could really make me care about Galactus in a lot of ways. Maybe somebody can make it work, but I feel like there wasn't enough time here either to make me care about Galactus at all. He's just kind of evil, and that's his only character trait, and that's just not a villain I care about. But Silver Surfer is really good. Despite the fact that Galactus was just an evil entity, and that's all that he really was. I mean, I guess he was, they tried to do a little bit, I think, with him, and tried to be well, he's stuck there, and he can't, he has to eat planets. It's his, he has to. That's all he can do, or whatever. But they didn't really explain it at all. They didn't really explain why he was burdened with this or whatever. Because his whole point was Franklin can take over for me, and that's, again, I'm sure Franklin probably could, but we'll see. I think that's all I have to say. Not a huge, I could say a lot more spoiler wise, but I don't really think I need to. So there you go. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter and link in the description below. Actually, probably not going to put the link in the Twitter there. Whatever. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll forget. I think I forgot from my last 2 videos, so hey. We'll see. It's going to be a running thing at this point. Peace out.